Always looking for a better lighting system on my bicycles. You can see I use wheel lights. They don't show up too well except at night. Wheel lights on the valve stem. And here is my first attempt at an improved tail light. It's a flashlight, a white flashlight with a red lens which shows up purple. Might not be able to tell the color on the video. Direct viewing it is much different than what is showing up on my camera lens. It's sort of purple. And above that is the Seigel light, which doesn't look anywhere near as bright on my camera screen as it does direct view, but this is what we have. So as you can see, I made a custom mount for the flashlight. It's made from an old reflector mount and a piece of aluminum. One reflector mount goes on the flashlight, the other reflector mount goes on the seat post, and a similar setup for the Seigel light. I don't like the original mounts because they're plastic, all plastic, and fragile, especially with repeated use, and I like to use the wing nuts for relatively quick dismounting, quick release. And I frequently change the lights from one bike to another, so I'm always running the wing nuts off. In another video, I'm going to show what I've done with the headlight. Similar setup regarding the mounts. This is a flashlight, very strong flashlight, but nice and compact. Takes one battery, less fiddly, burns for hours. But we're going to zoom in on, pardon the pun, we're going to zoom in on the taillights for this video, showing some details. Before we get into the details, here's a look at my second generation flashlight taillight. This one has red LED, so I don't have to use a filter, and the color is not distorted to purple. The color comes out red. It may be doing very strange things to the video. My screen is saturating with red light, but briefly, wow, it's going crazy. But briefly, this is what I settled on for my tail light. This will flash on a standard AA Duracell. This will flash for about 3.5 hours, which should be plenty for any nighttime ride. So we're going to look at the details of the mounting bracket and the flashlight. Over the years, I went through several iterations of bicycle taillights, the generic 3 LED, AAA battery, bow tie. And here's a later version. 5 LEDs, side one. One's on the side as well as one's in the middle. AAA batteries, plastic lens, plastic mount. And what's particularly bad about these, besides not being really bright, you can still be seen, they're not really bright. The plastic parts are very fragile. Every time you want to change the batteries, you pop off this plastic lens. You snap out each battery, which is in a very fragile clip, and the battery contacts come flying out after a while because they get weak because they're mounted in plastic. Very fragile plastic parts. I was glad to be able to get rid of these things. So the state of the art at the moment, at least at the moment the video was made, is this Taillight Hot Shot. Safe day and night. Sure enough, it's very visible even during the day. And again, I made up my own mount because I didn't like the snapping in of the plastic every time. That plastic eventually breaks. But this is it, state of the art. 2 watts. And I use this, still use it. But comes along this Cree flashlight with a red LED. Don't know if you can see it, but there's a red LED in there. And this is supposedly 7 watts, rated at 300 lumens, but I actually measured more like 150, which is still pretty good, and more than the Taillight. I measured the lumens by measuring the current at the tail cap, in other words, current being drawn, and knowing the luminescence from the Cree website. I got the luminescence in lumens per watt of input. So knowing the input, I calculated about 150. Okay, now here's my special mounting bracket made up of 2 basic pieces. Now, the plastic clamp here comes from a bicycle reflector mount. Here's the typical bicycle reflector. And here's the mounting clamp. And I take it apart, maybe saw off this part, use the clamp, and I make up my own metal, aluminum L bracket. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can use the original plastic pieces. But I optimized the mounting system to suit my own purposes. I attach with a wing nut frequently. As you can see, it's all beat up. Frequently move it from bike to bike. Now this takes actually a variety of cells, the AA size. Let's start with what doesn't work so well. You could use a 1.44 lithium, but it doesn't work. After a few minutes, it goes out. I don't know why. All I know is it does not work. So I don't bother buying one. Or you could use a standard, generic, rechargeable AA. That's this, 1.2. You could. It's not optimum. You could use it. That's choice number 2. Or you could use a plain standard AA cell. This one comes from Harbor Freight in packs of 24. This is not rechargeable. Once through, I haven't tested it to see how many hours it'll run, but once through, you throw this away. But you can use this in a pinch, and if you get stuck at night with no battery, you go into a convenience store, buy a pack of a couple of AA batteries, get you through the night. Okay, this is the optimum one as far as I'm concerned. The Duracell rechargeable nickel metal hydride, 1.2 volts. This will flash 3.5 hours. And then it defaults to the low steady on for I don't know how long, maybe another hour. I don't know, I didn't test that. All I know is it goes 3.5 hours on the Duracell. Now what I do is, okay, when you're on a bicycle, you're pedaling along, bouncing around, you want the battery to be a snug fit. It's not a snug fit. So I slip on a piece of bicycle inner tube, 700 by 20 if you have to know. I cut off a little piece of old inner tube, slip it over the battery, put it in, lots snugger, and when you're riding it won't bounce around and possibly lose contact for a moment. Very, very tight. So there we go. That's the assembly. That's the cell. You position the mounting bracket for perfect balance. This way, if your wing nut gets a little loose, the flashlight won't go down to the ground, it won't go up to the sky, it'll stay horizontal. So you do that by experimenting, clamp it down. There are the details. And we're done. Okay, a word on prices. Prices. What do all these things cost? Is it really worthwhile? Well, as you'll see, it really is. Prices. The Saigo light. This is about $30 retail. $30. It is rechargeable. You don't have to replace the batteries. There's no extra batteries to buy. There's no extra charger to buy, but you have to have a source of USB, a computer, or a plug-in USB power source. Once the battery dies, it could be years, I don't know, but it's not replaceable. You throw the whole thing away, and it's another $30. But, you know, it's the state of the art, and it's for bicycles. Okay, now, this light I got on eBay for about $4. No, $3, a little over $3. About $3.25 for the light, $3.25 for the light. This is the red light. So, considerable difference. Of course, you have to buy two more things. You have to have a battery. It could be any one of the batteries we discussed. But it does take replaceable batteries. Now, if you get the Duracell, you're going to need a charger. So, here we have a charger. This is a typical basic, cheap charger. You plug it in. This will charge pretty much any rechargeable battery. It's variable. And these are about $1 on eBay. Still very inexpensive. The Duracells, I can't remember how much this was, but the standard rechargeables are, I don't know, on the order of $1. They're all very cheap. These are more. These are a few bucks. I've had these years, I don't remember. It's a few dollars for a pack of 4. It may have been something like $8 or $10 for 4, a pack of 4 of these. So we're looking at $2.50, still cheap. So we have $3.25 for this, $2 for that. We're up to $5.25. Another $1 for the charger, $6.25. So for well under $10, we're ready to go, as opposed to $30 for this. So that gives you an idea of the pricing. All this stuff is available on eBay. Here's the daytime comparison of the Saigo light and the Cree flashlight from about 50 feet away. I don't know how it's going to come out on screen, but direct viewing, the Saigo light is on the right, and it is not as bright as the Cree flashlight. It's close, but the flashlight's a little brighter. Okay, now we're going to walk. I'm going to walk towards the light. I don't know if it'll make much difference, but here we go. Okay, now we're about 30 feet away. About 20 feet away. And the flashlight is focused, it's zoomed in to where the beam is about the same size as the SIGO light. At this distance, they're just a little bit brighter, certainly comparable. Okay, we're about 50 feet, 55 feet from the SIGO light hotshot compared to the Cree flashlight. The flashlight is on the left, and there's about 6 inches between the flashlight and the SIGO light on the right. And you can see that the flashlight is so much brighter than the SIGO light that on the screen here I can't even see the SIGO light. Directly viewing it, I can see the SIGO light, but it's not as bright as the flashlight. So, needless to say, the Cree flashlight is the winner in this comparison test.